I will begin this video by quoting the German poet Novalis, which, in a view that I had at some moment of my intellectual and spiritual development, was the greatest poet that the world had ever seen, and he lacked the recognition that he deserved, because he was so brilliant and ardent and passionate and magical. And here's a quote from Novalis. Philosophy can bake no bread, but she can procure for us God, freedom, immortality. Which then is more practical, philosophy or economy? And I would like to tell the truth to the followers of this channel, and I know that as of now my videos don't have a lot of success. I make between 5 and 8 views for each video, and I'm not disappointed nor happy, because I understand why, because the things I say are so far removed from common sense that I understand why the content of my video is unintelligible, even for myself. But what I would like to say to the followers of this channel, any follower, whether you've been following me for a long time or whether you just stumble upon this channel and discover its content, wherever there is a split of consciousness, we are one being, one spiritual being, and we are within God, and being is God, and there's nothing beyond beyond being or beyond God, although strictly speaking the absolute is beyond God. It's more than God, so to speak. But we and I, as a being, a thinking being, I cannot stop to be what I am, because from a logical standpoint, even nothing, pure nothing, is. It is pure nothing. It is a thought. It is. It's not yet clear to me, but pure nothing is identical with pure being, and they are identical but different, and this tangent at the root of everything produces the unfolding of becoming, and the manifestation of movement and change in the logical realm, what Hegel calls the absolute ID, which then creates a sensuous world, that which we call nature, and through the individual consciousness and the collective world spirit, this ID made nature, made consciousness, comes back into itself. That's a triadic movement. And God, or being, cannot stop to be what it is, because even if it were nothing, it would still be nothing. That's very obscure, but the point is, I cannot stop to be what I am. And I am being, and being is infinite. Being is only in relation to itself. I can only forget what I am. And I can only break apart the divine totality into a multiplicity of pieces. And this is what we call forgetfulness, or ignorance, or falling asleep. And I believe that I am forced to constantly break myself apart, dismember myself, and remember myself. And to remember means to connect the dots, to connect the neurons of the one cosmic mind together, to see the connections, the links, the neural structure of the one mind, because there is one being, and this being is a thought, so there is one thought and one being. And to remember means to identify the members of the divine totality and to bring them together, to remind them of who they are, and and the role that they have to play in this divine totality becoming conscious of itself. So the bad thing about forgetting who we are is that we forget our divine nature, and we suffer, and we feel a lack, and we feel a degradation, and we feel that we miss something meaningful, important in our lives, and we are confused, and we are scared, and we are anxious, and we are wandering within this world. We feel lost. So that's the bad aspect of forgetting. The good aspect of forgetting who we are and our divine nature is that the bad parts, we always forget them at some point. So whatever happens to us, we keep forgetting. That's what the Greek called the river Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, is that no matter how we suffer, we are condemned, which is a blessing, to forget our suffering at some point. And the good thing about forgetting who we are and who I am is that I constantly rediscover and remind and remember who I am, and this act of remembering one's true identity is joy. It's anxiety, of course, but it's joy also. And how should I explain this? From the moment when one understands one's divine identity, the entire relationship to the world, to the self, to God changes, because everything becomes in the present, and eternity is not a very long time after time or before time, or eternity is within time. Eternity is the present. Because the present moment is that which eternally is. And the ambiguity of eternity is that when you live in the present, and the philosophy of Hegel teaches us that the present is rational, and the purpose of philosophy is to seek rationality within the present, to think about the present, not about 19th century Germany or Prussia or the Napoleonic Wars or whatever. It's to think about our present, our day and age, and to rationalize what is. This is, it took me a long time to understand, but the philosophy of Hegel is thinking about the now, the present moment, and rationalizing the current world, what happens now. And so yeah, when you understand, when you reach divine consciousness, when you remember who you are and how you fit into God's eternal divine comedy, and in the divine comedy there are pretty negative moments, life becomes eternal. And not strictly speaking, because you cannot have a consciousness of eternity at all moments. You can say, okay, I can forget, I cannot remember what I do for 24 hours a day because I'm tired and I need to sleep, and I lose my concentration. But when you have a divine relationship with being, you understand that being is eternal. And the good thing is that it grants immortality. That's a good thing, but that's also a bad thing, because every joy, from the moment when you understand your divine identity, every joy becomes eternal. Every pain becomes eternal. But God, in His infinite wisdom, created a world. I don't know if He did it intentionally, but where people suffer, but He gave them the strength to overcome the suffering, and this is what we call philosophy and wisdom. And as an individual, in a process of becoming divinely conscious, I've always admired Nietzsche, and Nietzsche does not promise or offer a removal of suffering or pain. He offers us, if we understand his work, the will and the strength and the superhuman character to overcome the suffering and to wish that all things shall be eternal, even the pain, and eternally recurring. And he gives a higher purpose, a higher meaning. He forges higher values. And I often said to myself that Nietzsche is my only friend, because he understands me so well, and he's there to comfort me when I feel down, and I'm not strong enough to be Nietzschean as of now, but this is a goal that I set for myself to forge new values and to wish for the eternal recurrence of all things, the bad and the good, because I believe that the bad and the good are two sides of the same coin, two opposites of the same speculative unity, but it is the unity which is primordial. So the unity of bad and good is good, because unity is better than separation. So it's kind of twisted, but unity and identity triumph over separation. So in the end, to say that good and bad are identical, yeah, but they are more good than bad. So it's kind of weird, but yeah. And freedom, the ordinary definition and view of freedom that we have is to do what one's wish or what one's will. But freedom, as I envision it, is to be with yourself, to be equal to yourself everywhere, to equalize the world and other minds to yourself, so that you do not wish to remove yourself from the world, but to find yourself in the world. And freedom is equality of the self with the other. And someone who is equal to himself wherever he goes is absolutely free, because he's only in relation to self. And this is the formal definition of freedom: to be in relation to self, to set your own determinations, and to freely act, to obey your own law. And if it is your own law, even if you have to obey it, it seems like to obey is a lack of freedom. But if it's your own law, you are free in your act, and you find your freedom in obedience. That's quite complex, but it's a unity of opposites, and it's a speculative view of freedom. So, and finally, when you understand this divine unity of all things, and your relationship to the divine being, your place within the divine totality, when you really do understand who you are and how you fit into this divine being becoming conscious of itself, you will experience absolute bliss. This is what Hegel says, that to understand oneself as being a moment in the self-unfolding logical process of the eternal ID is to experience absolute bliss. It's beyond bliss. It's better than than you can imagine. It's what could be greater than to be one with God, which is an infinitely creative, infinitely intelligent, infinitely free being. So that's what I had to say, and as of now, I will try to to save myself and to save others by becoming a philosopher. And a philosopher must produce a speech, a logical discourse, and also an outlook on life. And he must embody his ideas. He must become the living manifestation of what he believes to be true. And that's what I will attempt to do. And I will encounter negativity and opposition, which is only my own negativity and my own opposition made manifest and coming back at me. And I will have to find the strength and the intelligence and the cunning to incorporate this negativity, which is just a mirror of myself, into my own development and to absolutize myself and to bring about the whole world consciousness, the whole world spirit, with all the individual consciousness, which are moments or modes of this one spiritual totality, to a full consciousness of itself. And yeah, so that's what I had to say. So if you understand what I mean, you will be enlightened, and the light has the strength to overcome the dark, because um, the light is its own principle. And yeah, so